I don't even know where to begin today. For those of you who haven't been to the church lately, it's very different. And I say different in a very positive way. I say different meaning I really shy away from the concepts of good or bad simply because of the fact that we really don't have any place to say good or bad about anything. What I might term as good, somebody else might term as bad, and vice versa. And so the thing is that we really don't have the right to make that decision. We really don't have the right to make that call. So again, I don't want to say good or bad, but I've got to say it's different, especially if you haven't been here. I would probably say for a couple months. There's a spirit here, and it's a spirit of, and that's not openness and inclusion. I guess what I'm trying to say is that so many times that language just doesn't fit the bill. It's just hard for us to have language for what we experience or what we have. And I think that's kind of what's going on now. So I guess I'm just going to tell you a story of a range of emotions a little bit. And this is a story that has to do with me this morning. I'm coming on up here today. I was talking to myself. I call it talking to myself, but really when you get down to it, it's not talking to myself, it's talking to God. I just happen to do it behind a steering wheel when I'm traveling down 75 or up 75, traveling between Venice and Bradenton. And, several different things, many things that get covered in my conversations with God have to do with reminiscence. And I think reminiscence is my way of thanking God for the great life that I've had and the things that I've experienced. And so I was reminiscing a little bit. But lately, now that I'm 50, and I realize that midlife is here, and I realize that there's physical things that happen to my body that are causing me to have limitations that I didn't have before. Sometimes my reminiscence become a little bit more melancholy than others, and this morning was one of those times that my reminiscence became a little bit more melancholy. And so I come in here and I pull in after having that 45-minute conversation with God on the way up from Venice. And I pull in, and what do I find, of course? But I find a parking lot filled, and I find people milling around eating breakfast. It was almost 8 o'clock, and greeting everybody outside who I knew and talking to the people making breakfast. And I come in and I'm getting ready for the service, and I go over and get the room ready because at 8:30 we have Bible study. And so I'm trying to get the stuff ready, and it's just a hubbub of activity here in the church. There's just people all over the place, and there's an energy here. And so I get kind of refreshed and revigorated a little bit, and have a Bible study at 8:30, and had a wonderful discussion this morning. Wonderful participations. A little different than last week. If you watch last week's on Fudge Sunday, a little bit different than last week. And so I had a wonderful discussion in Bible study. In fact, I had to kind of cut it off because I needed to end, about 9:40, 9:45, so I could come into the sanctuary and get ready for worship. But I didn't want it to end because it was such good conversation. And then got worship going, and worship was good. There was a good spirit in the room. It was just good. And when I went up into the sound booth there, and I started some music and got everything set up, and I came down, and I was sitting down right there in that chair at the end, and I forgot that I didn't check in, and so I wanted to check in on Facebook, and so I picked up my phone, and I went to check in, and noticed that my daughter had tagged me in something, and there was a video of my daughter and I singing together when she was like 5 years old, in the not even in the building of the church that I served in Venice at First Christian Church, but when we were in the temporary building. And I was wearing a robe, and I had a stole on, and I had my mullet, and She was like 5 years old, and we were singing "Take My Life" by Third Day, and I was just flooded by so many thoughts and so many memories. And I thought it was interesting how God had brought it all full circle, because I'd started off the day in that reminiscent mode. And the reminiscent was kind of melancholy this morning, like I was telling you. But he ended it not melancholy. That was the beginning of worship. It was happening during the announcements and everything. And then boom, we kind of hit the ground running after that. And it kind of changed my perspective. And that's what the message was all about today, was changing perspectives. If we allow God in, God will change our perspectives. And definitely I had a perspective change today. And I thank God for that. I hope that today you have a perspective change. I hope that you open yourself up to what God has in store for you. I hope that you open yourself up to question your questions. I hope you open yourself up to see a new way, and be open to what the Spirit of God is doing in spite of you in your life. All righty, well, there the bell tolls. So have a great week. May this week have a great you, and I will see you next week.